I'm back. Apologies, it says 24 FPS. I'm not gonna make this video 60 because it is gonna be really hard to upload. Because it's gonna be like 15-20 minutes anyway. I'm just running TM5, waiting for it to error eventually because it's gonna error more than likely. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Z690 formula is a bit of a nightmare to run 7000 on with 8i. I'm looking out for a 24 gigabit MDI kit, waiting for one to pop up. Unfortunately, right now, South Africa's been fucking cleaned up. I don't know what the hell happened, man. Like last year, end of the year, there was shit available for everyone. All of a sudden, now there's nothing available. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, there's nothing to buy, which is so stupid. Whatever. Anyway, so I missed out. I want to get MDI. Not that it's amazing. I used MDI. Obviously, I got Morgani's 7800 config. The one that I got on YouTube was unstable. The one that I did with him in private afterwards was stable. He's been gaming on that for the last 2 months. So I don't like the MDI. I don't like it. I really don't. It's not great, but it's better than this shit. So it's probably going to run 74 on this board. Probably. I mean, might take effort, but probably will. I'd say there's a solid 400 between each die. So from MDI to A-die, back to MDI, new MDI. Call it something else, man. Why the fuck they call it MDI? It doesn't perform like MDI at all. Like, why didn't they just call it like fucking C-die? Or like D-die, or fucking H-die, or something else. Fucking B-die, I don't know. Call whatever you want, like fucking Hynix BJR, bro. But anyway, so yeah, I wanna talk about Karu because it's an app I do own. So you guys have seen me running Karu. Now why don't I run Karu? Honestly, why don't I? Okay, so last year. Oh, dude, the years have gone by. 2022, June, July. I bought an Apex from Amazon UK. I was very excited. My first 2-dome board ever. I was actually really excited, and my lord, that board was terrible. It was dog shit, dude. And I was using my old formula of Intel burn test plus HCI, which is it's not terrible, but these obviously I recommend Y Cruncher, VT3, and One Osmus. But I was trying to get around the whole like running the IMC test thing because it felt like it was a waste of time. So I found Karu. Apparently Karu was a good option for like stressing the IMC. And you know, obviously everyone now is using Karu. They're all like, oh, Karu's amazing. It's like, we were using Karu fucking 2 years ago. Like, what? Anyway, so I'm using Karu. Okay, I'm using Karu. And this Apex, I was trying to get, oh man, dude, I'm like talking 6400 CR1 OCs because you really couldn't do better than that. I mean, that was hopeful. I mean, it couldn't even do that. You know, really, the Apex topped out at 6133, just like Bulldogs. And curiously, at CR1 6133, it was fucking like, it was monumentally stable, bro. It was crazy. It was like at 6133 CR1, that Apex was so stable. It's actually insane how stable it was. Like the timings I was using were like completely like unreal. It was like nonsensical timings. And it ran rock solid, and it was like the board loved that data rate. But anything above that, oh, forget about it, dude. It couldn't do anything above 6133. It was one of those cursed Apexes. Now, apparently the PCB on some of the Apexes and some of the Extremes, there was something up with, I don't know what it is, but the PCB they use for the Apex and the Extreme, however they run that layout, it's something wrong with that shit, bro. I don't know what the fuck. Like, cause, dude, there's a post on OCN where the guy bought a Z790 Apex Encore, and he's like, I received this a Z690 Apex disguised as an Encore, and I was dying, but that shit was funny. Yeah, that was enough to convince me not to fucking spend the 15,000 rand on a fucking Apex Encore. Because I could have bought it. It would have been double the price of this fucking board. Would I have gotten double the fucking board? I don't think I would have. I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe I missed out. You know, I can still buy one. I mean, maybe next month or something. If it goes on sale, I'll buy one. If it goes to like $500, I'm waiting for someone in my country to sell one of those white Apex. Obviously, Asus prefers the white color scheme because the white board is actually much better. You know, it is. The white Apex is superior. It's a legendary board. If you own a white Apex, a non-defective one, one that did not die in the first 4 weeks of use, you have a gem. That thing is worth like $1,000 easily. So anyway, yeah. So why don't I run Karu? Because it fucking sucks. That's why. Karu wouldn't catch errors, and you would find the errors Karu wouldn't catch in HCI in less time. So obviously these days we have this whole trend of like running Karu for like 24 hours. Now, by the way, if you live in South Africa, you're already disqualified. You don't have power for 24 fucking hours. So forget about it. Categorical. Forget about it. It's not possible. So the question is like, what do you do then? Why do we test for 24 hours? Why? The real reason is because we're fucking afraid. With DDR5, there's this whole like thing of, Intel's DDR5 setups destabilizing after X. Oh my word, my IMC was stable. Then all of a sudden, after 55 hours of testing, just one error. It's like, what the hell's happening? It's so, well, the answer's obvious. The answer's obvious, isn't it? One of your timings is dog shit, and it took 55 hours to actually error because that timing just, it hadn't strained the RAM enough in the first 24 hours or whatever, and so obviously after 2 days it eventually errored. But the honest answer is your timing was dog shit. Probably, because most people's timings are dog shit. If you look online, they are. It's true. Most people are using absurd timings, and don't really understand like DDR5 tuning. The only way to get an understanding for DDR5 is by using multiple boards and spending time testing different boards and different ICs. Especially Samsung. If you can test Samsung ICs, it's very helpful with like helping you understand like DDR5 training and stuff. DDR5 is weird, man. But what do you do? How do you actually get DDR5 stable, right? What's the idea? Now, basically, you have the board and you have the BIOS, and the BIOS surprisingly important. It's a lot more important than you would think. The BIOS has these optimizations inside of it that allows the CPU to train the memory more ideally, if that makes sense, like more streamlined, or I don't know. It just allows the CPU and the RAM to talk to one another better, right? That makes sense. Or each other better. And so the BIOS, you might find that a BIOS revision might actually significantly change how well the board handles the RAM. Now, what are you actually seeing when you're testing DDR5 is like, the board sets the environment, as I've said many times, and the idea is that the PCB has to maintain that signal pathway between the RAM and the CPU. It's very important. Obviously, the CPU has like a limitation of how many instructions it can fire off, because obviously the clock cycles determines like how many instructions it's gonna fire off, like you know what I mean? The data rate is like how many instructions it fires off. Like, or for example, the data rate will correlate to the CPU's actual IMC frequency, right? And then you also have command rate 1 and 2, and you have 1T and 2T, which well, no, oh no, that's the same thing. Oh fuck, sorry guys. I'm rusty, relax, I'm rusty, okay, I'm rusty. Command rate 1 and 2 and 1, 2, and 2T are the same things. But basically you have this command rate idea, this whole idea of the command rate, which determines like if the CPU fires instructions like every 1 clock cycle or every 2nd clock cycle. And then you have the actual frequency governed by the gear ratio in Intel, which is like gear 1 obviously means it matches the RAM speed in gigahertz, or it meets it, every 2nd RAM clock cycle. Okay, so anyway, the CPU has a limitation. That's why SA is important, because SA is going to determine how fast the IMC can run. So SA is always going to be a factor. TX VDDQ is obviously the voltage that governs the actual 2 IMCs. And obviously on Intel you have 1 IMC for channel A and 1 for channel B. You do not have 2 IMCs for different RAM technologies. Please stop thinking that's a thing. It's not a thing, okay? The IMC it has two portions, but those two portions govern each channel. And with each technology, it just depends on how it talks to the... So obviously DDR5 you have the sub-channels. D4 you don't. But either way, it's two IMCs governing two separate channels. Now, you have boards with really bad channel A's, and that's a big deal because that means the IMC that handles channel A has to be really good, or it just folds and then you run bad speeds. But the idea is that when you have reboot instability, it's not because you needed to test the RAM for like 60 hours, 70 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours. There's a reason why we used to run RAM tests for a few hours. Because the truth is, like, late errors only happen when... Well, late errors happen because of timings, but neither here nor there. The reboot thing, that's just because your actual motherboard cannot handle those settings. It's not the IMC, it's not the RAM, it's actually the motherboard. You would know this if you take... The problem is people don't like take the time to go buy a bad Apex or whatever else. Buy a like I had a bad Z69-F as well. People don't take their time. They go buy like the nicest boards and they like bin them and shit, and they're like, oh my goodness, oh, this runs this speed and this runs it. And it's like, go buy us a bad motherboard. Go buy a bad board and test it out, and then you'll see what I mean. It's like people wondering about, oh, 150,000% car root testing is the mark of stability. It's like, get a 2021 Apex, and I want you to see how after your mighty 24 hours of Karu, you reboot the board and all of a sudden that stability is gone. It's like, I need you to go buy a 2021 Apex and experience it, because it's quite something to like just behold the variations between booting. Like, it's crazy. It's actually wonderful to see how bad the board is. It's like the 2021 Apex is a legendary board. It's like you should put that thing on a wall, like frame that shit. That's a monumental failure by Asus. It's beautiful, really, isn't it? Like, it is. It's just wonderful how the 2021 Apex just demonstrates so perfectly the idea that this is not a duration issue. It's you're at the edge of the fucking PCB issue, is what it is, right? Because you're booting up the computer the one day, you get a good train. The next day you boot it up, you're trained badly, and then you're erroring, and now you think it's the IMC's fault. And I just don't understand where this mentality is coming from. Like you could literally just buy 20 CPUs and test them on the same bad Apex, and I promise you it wouldn't make a difference. Wouldn't make a lick of difference. I mean, you could test different ICs, probably wouldn't matter. It's just a bad motherboard. So the motherboard really does determine like what you're doing with RAM. It's why, like, at certain data rates, you don't really have to even worry about the reboot stability problem, because you can actually just get ICs, like for example with Asus Z690, the non-broken ones, which are the Dash F, the Dash E to a degree, and the Hero and the Formula do quite decently. The Apex and the Extreme, just fucking avoid them. They're terrible. But well, unless you get a good bin, because they do exist, and those are pretty impressive. And for some reason, they always land in the hands of the same people. It's so interesting how, you go on OCN and you find that like some of the same people, they always get these crazy bins of like Z790 Extremes that run 7600. It's like, damn, how did you get that bin? It's like that's crazy. Like, that's crazy, isn't it? So it's so interesting. It's so wonderful. Anyway, so anything under the Extreme of the Apex. So for Formula, Hero, Dash F, they all perform the same roughly. The Formula and the Hero might be like a tiny bit better than the Hero, than the Dash F, because they have 8-layer PCB, so they can handle like slightly more VDD2. I found that my Formula actually runs up to like 1.475 VDD2. Once you hit 1.5, it's fucking gone. Yeah, that shit's not booting. It's like, so my PCB can handle up to 1.475 VDD2. I always tell you guys, the more VDD2 your board can handle, the higher the data rate you can stabilize, and the more applications you can stabilize for. Very important, because a lot of people will find that their stable OCs will crash in one osmos or error in one osmos, because one osmos likes VDD2. If that drive voltage is not high enough, you will error in one osmos. It'll also error in VT3. So you got to test VT3 and one osmos. You have to. It's just important. Each of their own though. Do what you want, right? So, yeah, the board is the factor, guys. It's not the. Your IMC is actually very, very, like, it's not common you'll find like an IMC that's really bad. Like, I mean, some IMCs might be slightly worse than others. But realistically speaking, man, I don't believe this whole thing about, oh, they've changed IMCs and now I'm getting 1,000. No, that doesn't make any sense. It's your board. Your board is the environment. The IMC is like, oh, man, the worst 3900K probably runs like 6400, and that thing is probably faulty. And that thing is almost faulty. I mean, pretty much write the thing off. It's trash, okay? I can guarantee you that the lowest bins, realistically speaking, of working i9 samples, 7200, man, with A-die, 7200, maybe even with M-die on the right board, and the best samples probably 8000 on the same board. Now, if you let's say we pull a Asus classified, a classified motherboard, a engineering sample, under the table motherboard out of the storage cabinet, right? And we testing this this Apex sample fit for validators, like for QVL validation. We're testing this crazy classified board with no serial number, no part number. It's got ES on it. Okay, we pull this perfected Apex out of the cupboard, right? And we test every i9 we can buy from the shop. Now, you probably find that the lowest that you score, if you're half decent at overclocking, with Hynix M-die, old M-die, give it like 74. Give it 74. Okay? The best CPU, give it 8000. Yes, guys. People have been able to do 8000 with Mr. Green M-die sticks and good motherboards. I'm talking golden samples, golden sample Z690 Darks, golden sample Apexes. Because all these boards have perfected PCBs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the one's a 690 and the one's a 790 and it doesn't matter. The boards with perfected PCBs run very close. Very close, okay? So, take A-die. What's this 790 Encore ES sample doing with the worst i9 in this batch? This hypothetical batch, okay? Probably 7800. What's the best one doing? Probably 8400. You go to M-die. What's the worst result? Honestly, guys, 8000. With the worst kind of i9 you can buy, that's not like faulty, that you can RMA. Because I mean, if your i9 can't run an XMP for like fucking 6800 or 6600, just RMA. That thing is fucked. Like, forget about it. Okay. Every i9 should be able to do above 7000, except the 1200K. That thing was trash too. Forget about that. That CPU was cursed. That CPU was sad. But with the Raptor Lake onwards, above 7000. So 24 gigabit M-die, ES sample Apex Encore, and the worst i9 of a working batch of proper i9s that are actually fit for consumer use. 8000. 8000. What's the best? Probably 8800. Probably. And yeah, the issue is, guys, the board you own is really the issue. I can, if you tell me the board you own, and you tell me your ICs, and you tell me your CPU, I could probably ballpark your data rate within 5 seconds. I just know what you're gonna get. Not us, but a lot of my Discord, I say members, it's a free Discord, but like a lot of my Discord viewers, acquaintances, they'll tell you that I often just guess data rates for people and guess like settings, and oftentimes it's almost always like close to stable the first time. It's like oh, you have this, okay, cool, you have this, okay, probably gonna run this. It's not hard to guess by this point. It's pretty It's pretty straightforward. So when I got my formula, I already knew that 7,000 is going to be like around what I should aim for, because it's probably going to be the limit. I thought 72 would be possible. It probably is possible with some effort, but I knew deep down in my heart I knew 74 was not going to happen. And what am I testing right now? 7,000, because I knew what I was going to hit. I didn't have to go do 600 or... I mean, I barely even tried 68 because I knew 68 would be stable with quite little effort. Because you know what you're gonna hit. You know before you know. Okay, so DDR5, man, it's not hard. It just requires a lot of studying. Just like gotta look at like OCN and like see results of other people and like just test for yourself and then use common sense and just like, yeah, man, it's one of those things. It's like, oh man, like, it's so misunderstood, dude. It really is. It's so misunderstood. It's interesting how like people go online, they say, oh, I need new ICs. This IC can't run this. Like, I bet if I got new RAM kit, and oh, if I do this, it's gonna do this, and it's like, it's the motherboards. It is. It's always been. Right. It's always been the board. So, if you have that mentality that the board is the limitation, then it makes DDR5 tuning a lot simpler. So yeah, cheers guys.